watching it again, just because we have this last section, which is sort of a summary. What did you like about the empathy circle? The discussion, and maybe any other comments about it. So it's more about the process and the format that we want to get some feedback on in the last 12 minutes here. Susan, would you be willing to start? I'll just kind of choose people across the screen here.
One of the things that I liked about the Empathy Circle today was I thought we were very generous with each other in terms of saying, hey, I need you to pause, because I consider that generous, to take care of yourself so you can be a good listener. I need you to pause, and the other person pausing, and then once I intervened on someone who was giving their own opinion, and he was very generous with, oh yeah, I know what I did. So I thought the spirit of this was extremely friendly, and also people speaking up and taking care of themselves in the process.
Great. Bill?
Yeah, I really liked it. I was impressed with everybody's real authenticity and honesty, and the depth of their own contemplation of what they are. And again, I don't know if we didn't change any minds necessarily, but I think we all trust a little bit more in the process and each other, and so I really enjoyed that.
Thanks. Carolina?
Well, for me, today's dialogue was kind of challenge, because probably at that topic, first time I had the opportunity to kind of deeply get into the way of thinking and understanding the issue by a person who has completely different opposite or different point of view. I mean, Andrea, and it was very interesting to kind of trying to really get into that. So that was challenging for me because of my language skills, but also kind of very, very important experience. Thank you, Andrea, for that.
And speaking of Andrea, you're next.
Okay. So I'm really glad I joined the group. As I mentioned in the beginning, for me, the main purpose was, in addition to exchanging ideas and listening to other people, which I gained a lot from, by the way. I really was impressed by certain points that people made. But the main purpose for me was to participate in this kind of discussion and to learn how to conduct this kind of discussions with reflective, empathic method. Because as I probably, I sent you first request to understand more about it, because I heard my first experience with this was when I heard your conversation with Mr. Sam Vaknin.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
That was fascinating. It was fantastic. And so that's why I joined, and I keep doing that right from now on. I really appreciate the opportunity, and I see how a personal paradigm can be enhanced by listening empathically other people's opinions. And just one thing, if I may add, I was really surprised hearing things from people that describes their basic line. For instance, I'm sorry, Carolyn, for instance, she claimed that she is agnostic or basically atheist, but what she was saying, based on what I heard from her, she is not. She is a person with qualities of very deep understanding, humble Christian. Her ideology of her statements were not ideology of atheist or agnostic. There was manifestation of ideology of compassionate person, which is the main core. Because sometimes people reflect on a particular denomination or religion in itself, and it's certain, and justifiably so, and certain hardcore Pharisees, which unfortunately is the fact. But and it's complete opposite when people turn away from official representation of faith into that shell of denying the official representation. But in spirit, they are representative of being believers.
So you were able to see someone who is an atheist, see their compassionate, caring core.
Right.
And so really sort of sounding like you really appreciated that. And it was like a real insight for you.
That probably was the main thing for me.
Interesting.
Thank you, Karen, by the way.
So Shannon?
Yeah, it was interesting, this particular thing, to hear people say things that were outside of the norm of what you would hear in the public debate, something new, and deeper than just the normal shallow debate that people have. But also, to the larger point, the real reason I'm here is to experiment with the empathy circle itself. And I realize I know this about myself, but realize it more now, that I have difficulty with spoken conversation, and how my brain kind of gets jangled or whatever when I'm interacting with someone in spoken conversation. And that this would be good for me to continue to practice, so I can have more, be more relatable, and be able to not only listen to other people, but also still remember what my point of view is at the same time, and just get better at that. So I think that's good.
It's a good way to be able to listen to others, but also be able to hold your own ideas and be able to share those. And
right.
So it's a good practice for that.
Right. I definitely need to practice that, and this is a good way, a good strategy for doing that.
Cool. Yeah, thank you for that. Leslie?
Well, I have really enjoyed these past 2 hours. As I indicated when I registered in with Empathy Circles, I am involved in a group that meets weekly on NVC, Nonviolent Communications. And we have empathic listening exercises there. And I've often yearned for something outside of just an exercise environment where I could involve myself with people in a more meaningful way. I also do volunteer mediation here in Hawaii. So the more practice I can get with listening and reframing, the better that helps with my mediation skills. I found this past 2 hours extremely helpful, very interesting. Being able to share and listen to these varying opinions and viewpoints on this very contentious subject, and not have it in 5 minutes turn out to be a shouting match. I loved it. Thank you.
Thank you. And we lost Teresa. I think she was on a cell phone, so maybe she was having some issues with it. Would have loved to have her feedback. She's a real she's sort of an activist on the pro-life side, so would have loved to have had her feedback on it. But maybe we'll get that later, and I'll add it to the web page that we create for this event. Oh, so for me. I feel it's like sort of a web of experience. So hearing everybody's experience is like my web of understanding really increases, all the different points. It just sort of my understanding of the issue gets, wider and wider with all these different connections. And so I really appreciate the deeper understanding of everyone's experiences. And I think that the Empathy Circle supports that deeper understanding. Instead of it becoming a battle where sort of the lines get drawn, we're sort of expanding. And in 2 hours we're not going to come with a lot of solutions, but I think we did have some solution come that we really want care and concern for everyone involved. About we didn't want coercion to be sort of the primary force. So I think we had some sort of consensus on some of those points. So I find it very constructive. And if anyone wants to continue, we have a facilitators support group. We have a training that you can take online. We're just kind of watching it, as well as we'll be holding more facilitator training so you can facilitate, as well as after this group, a half hour later, we have a facilitator support group. So you can come, if you're trying to do empathy circles in your community, you can come and kind of get feedback, share your experiences, bring your issues, and so we can really get this and spread it. So thank you for your participation. And Susan has something.
The facilitator support group will be at the same link.
Mm-hmm.
Just
yeah.
for this.
Yeah.
In
So in 30
half
minutes.
an hour.
In half an hour,
Yeah,
you can come and join us for another hour or hour and a half or two, depends. It's not real fixed. So you're welcome to take part in that too. So with that, share my gratitude. I also use your Carolina, your sign here. So thank you and hope to see you next week. And I think we'll be doing this topic again in another week and, another month. Because it's a very, contentious topic. I think really is good for this process. Yeah, Andreas?
Is there such a meeting every Saturday?
Every Saturday, the same time on different topics.
Different topics.
Next week, I think, is going to be racism. The topic after is not chosen. And then June 1st, it's going to be what are your fears and concerns? We changed it from climate change to concerns, fears, anxieties about environment or personal or political. So those are the next 4 weeks.
Okay, thank you so much. It was incredible for me.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.